Okay. Oh, shit, my bad. So in unsupervised learning, what is that we are trying to understand here is the pattern, right? You will follow the pattern and you try to get some rules out of it, right? You try to get some rules out of it. So when you try to get some rules out of it, rules are nothing but some, like we have seen in decision tree, right? We could get some questions, classification. So how is the pattern of your data is what you are trying to understand. So suppose now you have the data which is being considered, like you have 100 columns into 5, 100 observations into 5 columns. So what happens here? We have dealt with what university data set here, right? And you, if it is like this, what would you do? So on this data set, you say to the client that, okay, sir, please apply. We will give you the grouping, right? We are very much happy with the data set. No issues with us. We will do it. So now you have taken the data from the client and client feels that, okay, they will give me the code. Then you start building your clustering. Because you are a senior data scientist and he didn't say anything sweetly, my dear data scientist, there are no constraints. You have to give me a model just which is perfect and I want better. I want to understand the pattern or the behavior or the allotment of the universities candidates. So what happens, each cluster size, now you start applying clustering and you group your data and you say that I will prepare and the data set in such a way that I make them into 10 groups. So what happens, you do like this. This is a data set. So when you're doing clusters, you try to reduce your data smaller, right? If you take this data and do analysis, it is easier. Or if you take this data and do analysis, that is easier. Definitely when you have a limited data set, it is fine. But the client is very much interested in getting these many people's data. He has the data, no. So why don't I utilize the data and just improve my businesses? That is what he wants. So if you make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into 10, and if I have like this, so people do ask us, ma'am, if the data set is like this, why you want, how you are showing me the data set, you are saying you apply this. It's up to you. Once you get grip on all the machine learning models, you yourself can apply on all the models on single data set, depending upon your why. Right? You can apply anything. I never said that if you're applying a classifier of decision tree, you are not applying logistic regression on that. I did show you that, which is nothing but your ensemble technique. Right? But why should be categorical? Why should be non-numeric? Then you go for classification, mostly. Right? So what happens here is, can you apply any type of analysis? If I have to apply regression analysis now, right? Simple logic. So how many you have? These many number of x12, you have x1000, right? x1 to 1000. So now what is y here? So how much you get the equation? Beta 1, beta naught, beta 1 x1, so on and so forth till beta 1000 x1000. This much, such a big equation you get, right? Like you have 999. How much time it will take for us to train the models? How much time it will take for us to calculate the coefficients for the model itself, right? So you get these many coefficients, no? Beta 1 to beta 999. And you substitute for different values of it and you have to get the accuracy. And the accuracy should be impressive enough for the client also. So to get these coefficients and to substitute the equation, all these 1000 values in the equation, What happens to the equation? It gets a lot of time. To reduce the data to a sizable manner, right? We are going to take similar data, patterns in the data, that you do analysis in a better way. So the accuracy of the model is better. Suppose I give you an example like a medical field. You are working on a prediction model. There's a patient inside the theater and he's on the bed. Okay, imagine the situation, and he's under, you have to operate him and save him. But you have these many parameters to be considered, and you have to upfront predict something to save him. Would you able to get it predicted the result quickly? It will take time. You get the result, but you have so many variables, so many parameters here, right? So what happens here? It will take time. By the time you analyze something, the patient is almost on the way, right? So if you take stock markets, any product in the stock market, it's raising so drastically and the change takes place within microseconds. Right? There are a lot of factors influencing them. So if you want to try to build something like this, you are going to predict the price. By the time you will predict, the values will change, they toggle. Right? Even if you have a very super fast model, sometimes you will not be able to take a decision on that particular, the speed we can't catch. So highly, this is a problem which is associated with high dimensional data. Why you are calling it as a high dimensional data? Number of columns, number of features, number of variables, it would be different. So you need to trim up, just like you need to cut. So let me show you, you'll understand the best example here. See here, I have a very nice puffy elephant here and a trimmed elephant here posing us, right? Posing for the camera. So this is more confident because remember, I didn't cut it, I just trimmed it. So there's a lot of difference between cutting. Cutting means you are deleting the features. Okay, you have 100 features. You are deleting the features if you are cutting the elephant. But here I'm trimming. I have to just like put into what we say box and take the features out. I'll give you a very good example. I always give for everyone. It will be very easy to understand this concept. So that's why the concept here is called as dimensions are getting reduced. So it is called as dimension reduction. So whenever you have huge data here, lot of time it will take for coefficients. If you have so many coefficients, results may be, they're not be appropriate. So you're trimming those values here. You're not cutting the elephant. You're just removing the elephant fat. Right? So that is here happening. Okay? So these are a few applications where you will come across the concept of PCA. Right? So when you reduce the data set, not by deleting, and you are reducing its dimension, it means that you are, if you have 99 variables, right? You have a data set like this where from 1 to x99. It does not say that, if you apply mathematical applications, what happens? It is nothing but, here we are not doing any predictions. Remember that, right? If you see a string, a compressed string, let us see here. If you just press a compressed spring by applying some external force to that, but you're not deleting it, right? This is one of the famous and easy example. We are just compressing it so that the spring is spring only, but you're compressing it, right? So this dimension reduction, you have two things where the concept is used. One is your PCA. called as principal component analysis, and other is SVD, singular value decomposition, right? This is also just like your black box technique, like SVM, what you have come across. Whatever math is there, that is not understood here. Okay. Now, so what is this all about? Let us go back to now applications. So when you see the applications here, face recognition, computational performance enhanced and image compression. So one thing you have to understand is you need better performance or you need better accuracy. Till now we are saying that the performance of the model should be good. And but what is the difference between performance enhancement and getting good accuracy? Accuracy means 98% accuracy, the model will run for 10 minutes. That is getting the accuracy. But performance means fastly you should get the output. Very quick reaction with the output. Right? Suppose you have drones. Okay. And the drones, just imagine the drones with very small size, very compact. They're nicely flying and they capture the images. We in India, like we people here, we are using for in marriages, right? Photography purpose, video purposes. So imagine such sort of drone is done by DRDO or any defense organization in India. And to do a rescue operation, you have to identify whether that person is a normal going person like we individuals, citizen of India, or he's a terrorist. Right? You will program in such a way that you will have to shoot him. Right? So the decision should be very quick by the drone here. We want intelligent drones fitted with a gun, something like that. If you take the picture, and you take time, leisurely analyze, do face recognition, half an hour drone will be there in searching only. Right? So a situation where decision should be given in a quicker fashion. Wherever you need performance enhancement, we should use dimension reduction. Right? Now what is this image compression all about? So when we talk about image compression, we have now very famous our Google cars, driverless cars, right? Connected cars here. So generally everyone knew that everything works with the IoT sensors here, and even nice cameras are fitted over there where they are capturing the information. Very, very high dimension cameras. So when you talk about the recognition here, each size is different. Right? And now that particular car is going with a speed of at 50 kilometers per hour. Suddenly there is a pedestrian in front of it. What should the car do? First thing is that it should apply brake or take diversion. That way the code should be there. Sometimes the speed is not yet, because it's not human, right? He can't take a diversion, hit a tree there. So it may not stop. So keeping the distance in mind, it should take decision. There's an intelligent driverless car. And you are sending an image of size 30 MB. By the time it gets loaded, the data gets processed, it may crash. So what you want? You want a 30 KB file, not a Facebook image, we want an Aadhaar card image here. It should just identify human or a tree, right? So the computation wise, it would be much faster dimension of data, right? Does the car, what it will do, car, whether it is a male or a female, she wore what kind of attire, no one is bothered, right? It just want to know whether it is a human being or not, or a stone. So image compression is what one of the best applications of your dimension reduction. Whenever I try to take a decision, very quick way, I have to get the answer, result. So as the size increases, but variables are important for us for betterment of the model. But the time processing is also increasing, right? Now, how do we do that? So you all all have the habit of eating cakes, right? Okay. So let us write what are the ingredients required for preparing a cake. One is flour. You want sugar, little bit of coffee. We'll write powder only, right? Baking soda. And what else? Baking powder is also required, I guess, right? Let us write it. Doesn't matter. We are not preparing bread. Anyway, and what is that? Milk. Right? What else? Flour, sugar, coffee powder, baking soda, baking powder. Okay, let us write cream also for decorations with chocolate flakes. Right? You can even dump directly cream biscuits also, right? If you just grind it, you prepare. So these are the ingredients. Hopefully, I'm not able to recollect suddenly. Right? This is one. What is required? Yeah, you want the soda is done, no? Yeah. This all you put it. We use a blender. A blender will do that particular mixture. So this is my x1 variable, x9 variable. Right, 9 variables I have. I just kept it in a bowl. Then what I do, I felt that the mixture became so, the quantity is more, and I don't want to give my kids, because if I prepare it, they'll eat, right? So what I do, I prepare the batter here. The batter is ready. The big ball here. I don't use everything. So what I do, I want to give it to everyone, so that one big jar I took. Bad in drawing. So I took a big jar. I poured little. Again, I took one more jar. I poured little. Again, I took one more jar. Again, I took one more jar, like this. I filled different jars. But what did you understand here? The batter prepared is same with all the ingredients. The ingredients are nothing but your variables. So you will squeeze it in such a way that the batter is poured into different jars. So this is having the first jar what you have taken, the second jar, third jar, fourth jar, and 5 jars. You can take 10 jars also. No one will stop you. But this is called as PCs. The jars you have taken are called as PCs. So this PCs will have 100% of information, right? And if you talk about the variance in your data, the first jar will have the highest variance, and the variance will decrease a little bit here, decreasing variance to the last jars. You're getting my point? So 100% information is there in all the jars. The batter is same here. You're getting my point? The batter is same here. Every PC is having all the information. Now you want how much accurate model? You take in your equation, or you take beta naught plus beta 1 PC1. Suppose this has an information of 97, right? This has an information of 3%. Oh, not 3. This will put it as 95. 3, 2%, 1.5. 5. How much? 5, 98, 98, 99, like this. Right? 0.5, 0.5. So the information is same, but the information, if you want the variance which is getting decreased, variation in the data, you add your equation like this. More accurate model, add all the PCs. It's mere waste, no? Why can you use all the variables on? So you can take these three and build the model. You're getting my point? This is one of the best examples. It's easy to understand the concept. Please confirm once. Is it clear? What did I do? That's what is here. Right? We are not reducing the data here, the columns, the information is getting clubbed here. Right? The relation between the columns is identified like a correlation factor. Right? Those kind of interpretations can be made on PCA. So PCA will help to identify the relation between the columns. Right? You're identifying the relation between the columns. So what happens now if you had 9 variables? How many I got now? PC1, PC2, PC3, PC4, PC5. 9 decreased to 5. But all the PCs are having same data of 9 columns information. It means that I'm only reducing the columns, but the information is the same. Right? So in university data set yesterday, we have seen that you had student to faculty ratio, expenses, what was it? You had acceptance ratio, graduation rate, top 10. So how do I visualize? 2D, it is good enough. Even 3D axis is also good enough. But 4 dimensions? So all these columns you decrease and you make them into 2 columns. You batter them and you make into, that battering is done in the concept of PCA. You're checking the influence of each column is equal or not. Got it? Is it clear? So now what will you do here is, this is my data set. How many? I have only very small data set, no? 25 people, 25 universities data I have. 6 columns are there here. Okay, they are giving you 100% information, right? So I will take, for this Brown University, how many columns are there? For everyone, these columns are there. So I take all this information, 100% information of Brown University. I'll capture the information from all the 6 columns of Brown University, put it in a single column. Then I try to capture everything. Assume that 75% of the information is I could capture. My PC could capture only 75% information from 6 columns. Right? I call that as PC1 here. Right? I call that as PC1. SAT, top 10, acceptance, faculty ratio, expenses, and graduation rate. From 100, this is 75% is captured here. How much is left over? 25%. So when you apply and try to capture the information, you apply the mathematical transformation and you try to capture information in PC2, then it is 15%. Again, what is left over? 10%. Then 5%. Right? 3, 2. So PCs, whatever is leftover information is there, that is captured in other PCs. How, just like the batter which is left over, not all batter I filled with the jars. I took little. Again, I took little. So I'm trying to capture all the information. If I add all this, don't I get the total information of Brown University? If I add all PC1, PC2, PC3, PC4, PC5, PC6, it is 100% information of Brown University. Right? Instead of now how much information you want to predict or to build a model based on Brown University. Why do you want to take all this? Take 75 plus 15 plus 10, 3 PCs are enough for us. You want 90% of information? Capture first 2, PC1, PC2. So your client says, hey, my dear data scientist, I'm not worried about the accuracy. So what you do, you're happy. He's not worried about the accuracy, but he wants the best models. He takes, you will take only 2 PCs. So what will your equation will become? Y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 PC1 plus beta 2 PC2. So how much information is ignored? You took PC1, PC2. All this information is ignored. Assume you didn't get a very good accuracy. You can add PC3 also. This is how PCA is done. So now you have a question in your mind. How is this information being captured? And you'll ask me, ma'am, what is the calculations applied behind? Right? Next question is that only. Till here, is it clear? This is your intuition of PCA. Remember, somewhere we have seen this line, right? In regression. You have seen such images in regression, right? I told you best fit line, deviation from the center, OLS technique, logic here to get the best fit line. Assume you have 20 people in a class and I have decided to conduct an exam. I decided to conduct an exam and I have conducted an exam and every student got 85, everyone got 85 or 8.5 for 10. Now tell me, how if a principal asks you, how is the performance of the people, 20 people, what will you say? You don't have any information about that. Who is the best? Because all got same marks. So to know the performance of the students, I'm trying to capture IQ levels of the students. Right? I should have attendance, I should have hard work, I should have whether punctual or not, right? How is he performing in the class? This is why I'm trying to understand each and every feature and I'm trying to differentiate among them. Would I be able to do that because everyone got same marks? Not possible, right? So I'll say those guys might have got the question paper or they might have copied one from another sitting beside them. So I could not capture the variation in the data, right? But if they got 2 by 10, 10 by 10, 6 by 10, 8 by 10, 3 by 10, all the 20 got different marks. Now I can start explaining features also. I'll say the first person not punctual, second person very, very naughty guy, third person worst of the worst fellow, 3 marks out of 10. Right? Why suddenly my explanation capabilities changed? Did the factors increase or decrease? Factors didn't decrease, they were same. But I could explain it much better because the variation in the data, the difference in the data, suddenly I got the explanation capability because there is a variance in the data. I have more information. What is that more information called as entropy? That information, more and more information is captured when you are trying to capture this. You are able to capture the variance. Quiz 1 is conducted using OLS logic. I'll try to find out the line. Right? I'll not call it as a line, it is a dimension. Quiz 1 is one dimension, quiz 2 is one dimension. So now, why am I drawing it in a perpendicular way? Why these lines are being drawn as a perpendicular? So if you draw parallel, so this is a new dimension, right? This new dimension is capturing maximum information, new data from new data. So when we want to draw a line which is passing through the data points, the line, whatever you, and the line should be closest to all the data points, right? If you draw it perpendicularly only, whatever is missed in this line will be captured here. There will be many data points which does not fall on the line. In that case, what happens? Rest of the information is gone, no? Right? So if you draw an axis perpendicular to each other, the new dimension which is coming up will be perpendicular to each other. So if I'm capturing maximum information from 100%, I'm trying to capture maximum information, but I could not capture 100%. So maybe 90% is captured. So next PC will capture whatever is left out. In order to capture this 10%, the dimension, whatever is coming, it should be perpendicular. So there should be perpendicular here. Right? It is meaningless, right? If it is a parallel, if it is capturing the same information of the first one, it is useless for us. Right? If PC2 is capturing same information as PC1, why would I work and why would I spend so much money on PCA, so much time on PCA, wasting my money with collecting the data and all that? Right? Making sense. So again, the original data, there might be duplication, but here in PCs, there will be no duplication of the data also. Whatever the thing you have captured, it's only unique information. Right? So here, where 1 minute, there are red lines, right? Okay. Now see this. So we want the best fit line that is anywhere there here, right? And before PCA and after PCA, this is how it is going to look. First, you have n original columns. If you have n original columns, after you do PCA, you will have n principal components. And they are called as n weighted averages. What is that? We'll discuss. It's called as weighted averages. Inputs are correlated. Output after PCA means, you know, correlation, right? Between x1 and x2 is called as autocorrelation. Between y and x, correlation. So after you get your PC1, PC2 will be uncorrelated. How do you find out correlation? Small r. If it is greater than 0.85, it is strongly correlated. And these are ordered by variance. PC1 will have highest variance, PC2 less, PC3 gets declined here. So you don't use all the PCs, you keep only the top principal components, maximum 1, 2, 3. This is preliminary of your PCA. Now come to this equation now. How this is happening, let us understand. Here, first, this is 1, no? Right? Ith principal component, you are having weighted averages. So A, I1, AI2, AI3, AIN, AXN. How many observations you have, that many you will get. N values. Right? Now that weighted averages, if I equal to 1, principal component 1. I equal to 2, principal component 2. So weight is nothing but Aij. And here also you have the equation y hat. Equation of a straight line. Same logic here also. Beta 1 x1, beta 2 x2, beta 3 x3, no, same. So first principal component, and this is called as weighted average. Here in linear regression, we don't know how you got this beta naught and beta 1 values, right? Model itself has given that, right? Collectively here also it is the same. The weights are chosen here. These weights are inbuilt chosen in such a way that PC will have, this PC1 will have highest variance, 100% of information. Right? The first PC will have always maximum information. And these weights are given by the model in such a way that the first PC will have maximum extraction of the data, maximum information of the data. So original dimensions may not be perpendicular, correlation may be there, but here for PC1 and PC2, they will not have any relation. they will be uncorrelated, independent of each other. You can even check that. And sum of this squared weights. What is the squared weights? AIN square, A12 square, A13 square equal to 1. Right? Now these weights are given by algorithm only. Any doubts still here? Just confirm once. If you have any questions, ask me. Till here, is it clear? Like how you got beta 1, beta 0, beta 2 values by the model, here also you get the same. So AI1 square is the highest variance, means lots and lots of information here. And these species are correlated. Clear, ma? No? Or shall I repeat? Yeah, good. So remember that there will be no problem of collinearity, no problem of correlation. And when the weights which are evaluated, they may correlate, but here the pieces will never correlate. So whenever you get the weights, that will be a data optimization problem. So we will try to find out PC with maximum information. What is the maximum variance I could capture? So I'll apply variances, right? I calculate variances, right? So these PCs, just 1 minute. Okay. Yeah. So those weights are called as principal component weights. So and remember they should satisfy that the condition of sum of the squared weights also should be equal to 1. Right? If you have the weights with maximum variance will have maximum weights, and the weights are called as principal component weights, and the PCs are called as PC scores. Final weights are nothing but your AI1, AI2, AI3, all this. Okay. So need not worry about how these weights are calculated, because it's anyway done by this. Okay, now this I know, you know, we all know. Standardizing the data. This is the utmost thing which is required. And see, now you will have the best understanding of how do you differentiate the correlation with the covariance. See, correlation matrix is a matrix which will standardize the data. First standardization, then it will find correlation. So first Z calculations are done, then R calculations are done. But here covariance, what happens? It does not standardize before finding correlation values. It will not standardize before correlation values. That is a difference, you will get to understand. And you have to say in the interview also, if someone asks you to explain the difference between covariance and correlation. So why do you want to do standardization? Because the magnitude of all the variables are not in the same range. So you are going for this. Finally, we got the weights. These are the weights. Now you have two principal components you got. Now you will have scores calculation. So how do you do scores calculation? This into this. 0.401, right, into this. Okay, and Z top 10 into this top 10. This into acceptance, like this, like this. It's just like matrix multiplication. So whatever value you get, you will fill this. Right? You will get an n by n matrix here. Normal matrix calculation. So this PC is having, these are the PC scores. These are the PCs. Right? But see here, if you, let me go to the next slide, you'll understand. It's just like we are doing a transpose of it. You remember what is a transpose matrix? Rows becomes columns, columns becomes rows. Right? So whenever you want to do a multiplication, right? So if A is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, if you do transpose of it, 2 by 2 will become 2 by 2 matrix only, transpose. But if you have a B of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what happened to transpose here? 3 by 2. Right? So 2 by 2, 3 by 2. Both matrix multiplication cannot be done because it is not matching this one. This both should be same. So matrix multiplication is only possible when the column of A is equal to the row of B. Right? And all the values, if they are 0, you call it as a diagonal matrix. I need not tell you that. Right? And also what you have to see is, whenever you have x dot y is equal to 1, x becomes y inverse or y becomes x inverse. So A will become B inverse, B will become A inverse. So B is equal to A inverse means left. This is called as right inverse, left inverse, right inverse. Right? You take all the input data, right? You take all the input data and you perform it and you get these equations. Normal calculation. Matrix. 3 by 2, 2 by 4. 2, 2 are there, no? Here rows and column, column and row. You can do a matrix multiplication. The same thing what is done here. Here. So I should do SAT with SAT. So here I did transpose. I do a calculation of transpose. So 0.45, right, into this, all that calculations, I got this. If I have weights, I calculate scores. If I have weights, then only I can calculate scores. And remember, sum of all the weights should be equal to 1. Correlation should be equal to 0. Using all this, you will capture the scores levels here. Let us see, why did we do a transpose here? So this is what you get after calculation till 6, right? It has given you graduation rate. Yeah. minus 0.405, 0.27. So these are your PCs. When you get these PCs, if you see here, capture the variance and capture the variance percentage. 76 first PC got decreased, decrease, 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 decrease. If you do cumulative, if you add all the PCs, the information is 100%. So now you can add these two. If you take two PCs, 90% of the information from 6 columns, all the 6 columns is captured. If you are 94% information, you have PC1 plus PC2 plus PC3. And the PCs have given the order of variances. How many you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you'll get 6 PCs. How many variables you have? That many PCs are available. And see this. What did I do? PC scores is nothing but scaled data into principal component. This n and this n. Now I can put it inverse also. Scale data is here only. Just know what I wrote. A is equal to x into b. Right? X is here only. It became A by B. I write it as A B inverse, which is equal to x. Instead of B inverse, I made it as transpose. A B transpose is equal to x. Approximately. This is what. So scores into principal components will give you the scaled data or total data. Right? So PC weights are done like this. And PC1 is having highest information of the data here. So if you do transpose, what is happening? You get R comma C will become C comma R. If you have dimensions of the scores, here dimensions of the scores is 25 by 6. Principal components are 6 by 6. Matrix multiplication is possible. Finally, you will get 25 by 6. Original data is also 25 columns, 25 observations, 6 columns. Became equal or not? Right? Now, if you take PC scores, right, how many principal components you are taking? If you take PC scores, only 3. Principal components also you are taking only 3. If you do like this also, 25 by 6. Here also scale data is 25 by 6. 3 rows, 6 columns. 3 rows, 6 columns. Because you have applied transpose. Right? 6 by 3 became 3 by 6. Yeah, you take only 3 PCs. PC1, PC2, PC3. We got original data. So there is no loss of data only here. There's no question of loss of data. Okay. And what else here? Yeah, I think this is done. Let me check what we have next slide. Yeah. Now, what are the goals here? You are trying to understand the relationship with PCA by interpreting the weights. What are these? These are the weights. Weights are nothing but beta naught, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. Here you have A1, A2, A3, A1. So coefficients will describe, these are your coefficients, the role of original variable in computing your PC. So PC, this is your PC, no? What are interpretations you have here? If you check acceptance ratio, right, 0.42 in the positive. So high acceptance ratio, right? You have high acceptance ratio 0.42. high student and faculty ratio. Others are negative. So you have low expenses and low graduation rate, SAT and top 10 score. That is the interpretation. Very less value, SAT and expenses. So I'm capturing some information which is very, very less. Negative values. I don't want them. Most of the information is only from PC1. Acceptance and student faculty is giving me more information. Right? You can check a kind of universities which is giving you more expenses, will allow the students with low expenses. Right? So you're looking at the data in the first column. I'm going to say that maybe it belongs to which type of university, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So you are trying to take decision by analyzing the data, looking at the data. Very, very low values will be like 0. See here, 0.0035, very low value. No, information is very less. Graduation rate, 6th column, last one. In PC2, right? SAT score, very low. So we are capturing information from SAT score is very, very less. That is one of the goal. You can understand that, okay, which variable is giving you maximum information. And this is a plot, visualization plot. Because when you do the plots, it will be more easy for us to understand how the data is. So it is PC2 versus PC1. Here you have PC1, here you have PC2. So PC1 with all the information from 6 columns, PC2 also with all the information with 6 columns. This is a scatter plot. What you want to understand from the visualization, there is no pattern followed. There is no relation between PC1 information and PC2 information. Right? Scatter plot will give you whether it is linear, whether it is in positive direction, how is the strength. That you have to check using a visualization plot. You have to check all these things. You'll understand that they are not good enough. It is following the rule. So what are the additional benefits here? Multivariate data at different time points. Right? The historical data of successful batches are used here. And this trajectory data is projected to a low dimension space. You have some monitoring charts to spot the outliers also. Now answer me. If we use a subset of PC, is this useful for prediction or is it useful for explanation? You have 25 people's data, 7 columns. 7th column is average salary. Suppose if I ask you to predict average salary of a graduated student from a specific university, right? You have 25 by into 6. You do PCs for prediction. So you get equation y beta naught plus beta 1 PC1. You take only 2 PCs. Question says, if I use a subset of PC, from PC1 to, I should get 6 PCs, no? But I'm using only 2 PCs. So subset of PCs I am using. Right? Actually, equation will be beta naught plus beta 1 x1 till beta 6 x6. I have a client and he is not having any knowledge of all these things. He is not having any knowledge. So how do you explain him? What is PC1, PC2? You can't explain him. You cannot do that. Explanation, you can't do it. So what are the advantages of this? Disadvantage. Performance increases as the first advantage, but disadvantage is that we are decreasing the dimension size. We are suppressing the original data into dimensions called as PCs. So prediction models don't run on 100% of data. So when you don't run on 100% of data, accuracy will not be that good compared to taking complete data set. So you have to take a proper call whether 80% of the information is good, right? Accuracy will not give importance. Performance will be given importance, right? Now tell me, what did we do here? What is the difference between PCA and clustering now? What's the difference between PCA and clustering? So PCA is done on columns. Clustering is done on rows. Right? PCA is done on columns. Clustering is done on row calculation. Right? Take break of 5 minutes. Meanwhile, I'll open the code. Okay? Okay. So let's start with the R code here. The same data set we'll use here. Okay. And I have the data set already here. My data. Okay. Now what I do, input is not there. University names is not required for me. Okay. University name is not required. So what I do is, I'll remove that. -1. Attach my data. So let me show you what happens if you do question mark of principal component. So if you do question mark of principal component, the principal components analysis, this spring comp, right? This spring comp, it performs a principal component analysis on a numeric data, right? On numeric data, and returns the results as an object of class principal component. These are the things you can pass here. Okay. Now what I'm doing, I'm just creating an object PCA obj print comp. I pass my data. I'm writing correlation is true. Scores also I want true, and comat is null. So covariance matrix or a covariance list which are returned here null. I don't want anything like that. I got the PCA objects. See here, principal component PC1, PC2, component 3, component 4, component 5, and component 6. Right? I got. Okay. Now what we have to do is we have to see structure of PCA OBJ. So if you see structure of OBJ, you have loadings here. And you have deviation also here. right? You have the centers, you have the scale, you have the scores. So much of information is there, right? So correlation equal to true. Here, what did it do? We did not do standardizing the data manually. We didn't use a scale function here, right? So if you make covariance true, you can pass that values as well. Scores, do you want to show final results? Yes, I want them. PCA OBJ outcomes will be there in the summary, right? So you get, when you do summary of this PCA OBJ, the same table what I showed you, proportion of variance, cumulative proportion, what is the standard deviation in the first component, second component, third component. Now out of this print comp, I got loadings also are there. I want loadings. So loadings are nothing but the weights. We get PC weights. These are my weights now, right? 0.458, 0. Why these values are blank? I showed you, no? Very, very low value. Very low values, small values. We are unable to capture any input, so you are calculating the weights. There's not no much information in that, right? And now you want to see a plot between the same thing I showed you, the cake preparation jars here. We are preparing the cake, putting in the jars here. I've prepared this same thing what I showed you. Okay. Now what you have to do is, you should understand what everything is here. What are the list of 7? Now you know what is standard deviation. You know loadings are nothing but the weights calculation. You have the centers. Now you have to explore what is this scale. And these are the scores, right? PC scores. Now you have a plot that is nothing but simple one line of code you get here, print comp. You are writing correlation equal to true. It means that your Z values are calculated internally. I'm not doing in any scaling manually here. I took the data, I did like this, scores also I want, I just build the model. So when I did this, I got the structure here. So many things are available. From that I take, if you see summary first, you understood that the same thing what I showed you in the PPT. So PC1, PC2, PC3, PC4, PC5, PC6. If you add them, last PC, if you add it, it will become total information. Now you want the weights calculation. Loadings will give you the weights. These are the weights. Loadings are nothing but the weights. And now if you do a plot of it, the same plot what I have drawn in the starting. So this is my cake batter. PC1, component 1, component 2, component 3, all the PCs information. There's also a plot called as biplot of total entire output. So what inferences you have here for this plot? See, principal component 1, right? What I explained you here. See, SAT and what is that we had positive here? Principal component 1 is having maximum of what? Positive is your student faculty ratio and acceptance ratio. Other values, these 3 went negative. Expenses went positive. If you take in the component 2, right? If you take component 2, what are positive? Acceptance and expenses are positive. See, acceptance, expenses are positive with principal component 2. Others are the minus 0.2, graduation rate negative, top 10 negative, and this is almost 0. That is the interpretation of your biplot. Right? Now, if you do a plot, right, for what you are doing, to just check here, you'll get the plot. For the variances calculation, see here, this is a formula for what you have kept for variance calculation. See how the variance is increasing. First it was, here it started with 70, second variance 90, 95, 97, 98, 100. So what we had taken here is from PCA OBJ, if you do summary of PCA OBJ, you got standard deviations, no? You captured that standard deviation into standard deviation into 100, doing a cum sum, sorry. So it is cumulative sum, right? Cumulative sum by, again, sum of these objects, and the type is B. You got a graph to understand that variances got increased. Now, if you want to know scores, these are the scores for all the 25 data. Now what I do, I take only 3 principal components, PC1, PC2, PC3. Only 3. Right? Now I take these 2 and what I do is C bind, column bind them with the scores. Okay, it's not input here, it seems. What did we write the data? My data. I'm doing column bind. If you do final here, see, from the total data set, I took only Brown University. Now you can perform clustering here. Try to perform clustering. Now what did you understand? PC1 and PC2 should not have any correlation. Right? PC1 should not have any correlation. Okay. Attach only works with the list data function environment. Okay. Why it is throwing error in this invalid. Okay, click me to comp1 and comp2. Comp.1 is not found. Strange. Why it's coming error? 1 minute. We did run this final. We viewed final. Now I want to show that final is having comp. It should work. String. So you should understand that there will be no correlation. Right? So now I want to show you one thing. Always see here. This is how your PCs will be formed. You can see here. So many principal components, as they are variables in the data, principal components are constructed in such a manner that the first PC component accounts for larger most variable variance. That line is getting rotated, the line that matches the purple marks because it goes to the origin, and the line in which the projection of the points, red dots, is the most spread out, right? Which will give you the maximum variance. That line it will stop. That will be your first PC. The second PC is scattered in such a way that with the condition that it gets uncorrelated with the first PC. This process will continue. Hope it understood now. It keeps on rotating. The weights are given in such a way that this line is getting rotated and it will take the maximum variance out of the data. Okay. Is it clear? How are the PCs calculated? So in Python, it's very easy again. Pandas, you want NumPy. You are reading the data, Excel data. As usual, there is no data available. Okay, we have uni. Okay, let us load the data set. What's the name given to it? UNI1. It's a small u, I guess. Very, very easy topics, unsupervised. Right now, if you just run this, right, I got head of it. I'll drop the first column, university column. Okay, this is not required. Why it is given here? Now, sklearn is having decomposition submodule. From that, you should take PCA. Right? I have matplotlib. For scaling, I need import scale. So now you check, you take the location with that categorical letter, remove that. Okay, uni1.data, uni1.this, run it. Now if I uni104, if you see, I get only numerical data. Now what I have to do is I have to do normalization, right? I use a scale to do normalize, and if you see the normalized data, the same thing what we have done previously for clustering. I got the normalized data. Now I want how many principal components? 6 principal components. So PCA is equal to n underscore components 6. Right? Now you are fitting the model PCA dot fit underscore transform for the normalized data. The model is PCA. You are fitting it on your uninormal dot data. What PCA values we got here? These are your PCA values. How many you'll get? 25 into 6. Now this PCA, you can see here, what was the name given? PCA, right? See here, this PCA, if you click on this in the Explorer, it gives you so much of information. Structure, built-in method, wrapper. There should be one thing which is variance explanation ratio. Just searching for that. Just give me a minute. Where is that explanation of that? Yeah, see here, explained variance ratio. So I have to take that. Why? To just know what are the variances here. So from the model, I'm taking these variances. And if you see variances, same thing what you got here. First, PC1 will have maximum variance. Right? Just now I showed you one figure. Now, if you want to know what are the components, these are the components. So minus 0.4577. Let us go to here and check. Yeah. See, these are the components. These values are given here. PC components. So from this hyphen, you are taking 0, 1, 0. Only first one. It's just like. Now, what you are trying to know, you are doing cumulative sum, rounding of the variance, decimals to 4 into 100. To just check the cumulative variance, 76, 89 and all this. Now, if you do a plot for this cumulative sum, the one which didn't open in our R, okay, this open, right? Here, the variances are increasing. As the PCs increase, the variance values are increasing because it's a cumulative. Right? Now I should do plot, no? Take PCA values 0, PCA values this. Now you do, what are the PCA values? These are the PCA values. Now do a scatter plot for X and Y. See, PCA1 and PCA2 are independent of each other. No linearity. The spread is very, very away. The strength is very less. So the correlation is 0. The plot which didn't open in for us in R. So this is an interpretation. So if you see X, right? If you have the PCA values, right? Where do you get the PCA values? These are the values what you got here. Right? Values of PC1 and PC2. These are the components, PC components. These are the variances. Right? See, so many things. You have the components, explained variance ratio, fit underscore trans, nothing. Fit underscore transform is nothing. You have the mean calculation. How many components? 6 components. How many features? How many samples? Right? You have the values. So much of information here. Right? Is it clear? What did we do? So these are your principal components. Using these weights which are given by the model, you are doing a multiplication, matrix multiplication, this into this, you get the scores. So how these are coming, we don't know. Is it clear, ma? So components are nothing but your weights here, okay? These are the weights, no? This into this weight calculation. Input into AI1. That's what we have done here. So this is your weight given by this. This into this is done. You are getting scores. Hope it's clear. Yes, Meha? Shall I explain once again? Are you there? No. Shall I explain? Yes, no. Explain means you put explain. Okay, you want me to explain one. Concept is clear? Concept is clear? What is not clear? What is not clear? TP? What TP? I'm very bad in abbreviations. Okay, repeat. See, understood the cake concept is understood? No, cake concept is clear. Why do you are doing this dimension reduction is clear? So when you are doing this PC calculation, no, I told that the first line you are having, that line should have maximum variance. Why did I tell that it is maximum variance? Why? Because we are able to understand the variation in the data. Then only I can give some justification, right? I can draw some insights. If there is no variance in the data, what is the thing I draw? What insights I'll draw from the particular data? So this is a line, the best fit line, which is trying, the first line you are drawing, that is, this line is nothing but PC1, suppose. It is rotating in such a way that it will get maximum variance. If this is getting maximum variance, whatever is not captured here should come into PC2. Again, it starts rotating. Whatever is not captured in PC2, it is captured in PC3. Like that, till 100, the information will be there in 6. Why only 6? If you have the number of columns 6, you will have PCs also 6, right? So this line is drawn, this is, if this is a line settled, this will be a PC2. Both are perpendicular. Why? Because information in PC1 should not match with information in PC2. If that matches, why you will like to go with this PC concept? You will work on total data set only. This data set is very, very small data, right? So that's why what you are doing is, it will be easy for us to analyze. If you have 10,000 or 100,000 data points and you have 100 column names, how will you do? You will do feature engineering, but what happens? Though you do feature engineering, you will delete. But here I'm not deleting any column. These are my columns. By now you should understand what are columns. So this is all the information of Brown University. First, so SAT, top 10, acceptance, everything is captured and it is kept here in PC1. So the line which is moving will have maximum information, almost 75% information. Right? When you are doing this, what is happening? These are nothing but the weights. How you are getting those PCs, principal components, this is how you are getting. Right? These are nothing but your beta naught plus beta 1 plus beta 2 plus beta. These are the weights. These are internally given by the model. Right? So the ith principal component is a weighted average of original measurements. So the weights Aij. So PC1. So if you proceed further here, the weights, this is your data. Right? Assume that these are your weights. Right? Principal components are weights. AI1, right? AI1, AI2 plus AI3, all this. This into this. So why you are doing this, you understood, right? You did a transpose of this and you are getting the scores. How you are getting this is by the model. So I'll go to the last slide. Here, see. To get this scores, what am I doing? I have the scale data multiplying with weights. Right? I do multiplication with weights. So how am I getting weights? Same like your beta naught, beta 1, beta 3. If I do this like this, then only I get my original data. Back, inverse, transpose. So inverse is equal to transpose here. Not much difference here. Till here it is clear. What did I tell you? Hope you are in with me. Yes, you are with me. Yes, Meha, is it clear till here? Now what you are doing here? Now what you do here is, how you are doing these coefficients? Coefficients will describe the role of original variable in computing PCI. So all these i's will become 1 if you are calculating for PC1. This is your PC1, PC2, PC3, PC4, PC5, PC6. So PC1 weights, they measure the degree of this. This is giving you the information of how is this related. This is how much information is captured by this. Okay, that is what is captured here. And then whenever you are getting, if you have, now you have acceptance ratio, right? Acceptance ratio, student faculty ratio. If you find correlation, you draw a scatter plot. The correlation might be 0.85. But if you draw a relation between PC1 and PC2, there will be uncorrelated. So there is no problem of correlation, no problem of collinearity, nothing. Hope you understand what is correlation and collinearity. Right? Now if you get back to the code here. What did I do here? Simple logic here is, I've loaded the data set and I'm not doing scaling because I need to do scaling no, for my this data. If you do summary, there are different magnitudes. I'm not doing it. Why? Because if I do correlation equal to true, what did I explain here? If correlation is equal to true or covariance is equal to true. See here. If correlation matrix is a matrix, it will standardize the data before finding correlation values. So that's what I have done here. Correlation equal to true. You want the scores? Yes. What on data? What I'm using principal component. Prince comps I want. If you see this, it is giving you how many? 7. It is giving you standard deviations. Right? Standard deviation means variance. Right? It is giving you loadings. Loadings means weights. See 0.458. What I showed you here. 0.458. Weights calculation. 0.45. Right? Those are your weights. So let us see what is the structure. What is the summary here of this PCA OBJ? So what is the summary here? You will, if you are getting 6 principal components, first principal component will have maximum variance. That line, what I showed you, it is rotating, no? Maximum variance it will have. Later it comes down, comes down, comes down. That is there in PCA OBJ. Summary of that. Now if you take loadings here, 0.458. Let me show here the same one. Okay, where it is. Yeah. See, when you got this principal components, you have the values. See, few values are very low, no? Weights. Loadings are nothing but weights, I told you. These are principal components are nothing but weights. This is very low. This is very low. You can check the low values. This is also low. All these low values are null values here. See, they are not given because no information is captured there. And now you do a plot. You will get our jar plot. Right? And here this is equation for variance. Variance captured the standard the cumulative sum and trying to plot and understand that the variance is increasing. Cumulative variance is increasing. Right? It started with 76. Where are our variances here? The value. Yeah, see here, this is 76 first. Plus 13 if you add. It increased to 89. It went to 94. It went to 97. It went to 99. It is 100. This is the plot here. Now what you have to do is, for the data set, output is what? For my data, university names. Take this column. Take from PCA scores. Right? Now these are the scores. What is this? They have done matrix multiplication and they gave you this scores. Here. Matrix multiplication we have done, no? Where it is? Yeah, matrix multiplication we have done, we got this scores. This into this is done and they gave us this. So how many you will get? 25 by 6. See? So how many principal components, how many scores you will take here now? 1, 2, 3, because this is having 76. 76 plus 13, 89. 89 plus 89, no, 94. So only 3 are taken here. these values, these PCs. Now what I'm doing, I'm doing column bind. I'm taking column bind, my data only university data set from scores, first 3 scores. And I work on that particular data now. Right? Now you build a model for this, right? H clustering for this. This was error, right? Yeah. I'll check that later. Clear now? Yes. Here also same procedure. Here I did scaling by hand, right? I did scaling by hand. So for that, what I need, it is there in pre-processing. I'm importing scale function. Right? So what did I do? I did scale of the data. Scaling is done. I got the normalized data here. I'm myself writing, I want 6 components. This is a model. PCA is a model build. Right? I'm fitting that particular model on the normalized data. Right? Now, if you see these PCA values, what it will have? These are my PCA values. Now, to capture variance, so this gives you a lot of information, as I told you here. Click on this, it gives you so many parameters here. From that, I'm taking variance. Taking variance ratio. Right? These are the variances. Same thing, 76, 13, 0.04 and this. You want components. Right? Weights. Minus 0.455. 0.455. This is not required. This is a plot what you have done. Right? Increase in the variances. And next, taking values. Values are nothing but your scores. X score, you are taking first score, second score. And now you plot it. To just check whether there is any correlation between them. No correlation. Otherwise, you can put NP dot correlation. What was that? I forgot. What is that? NP dot. Okay, why am I writing here NP dot? Here, right? Yeah, NP dot correlation. Between PC1 and PC2. This is negative, very, very low. Right? No relation. It means that PC1 and PC2 are unique. Okay, PC1 and PC2 are unique. So any questions?